Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the year 2025 of The Ball is Round. I'm Hadi Raphael, and tonight on the show, we'll talk about CF Montreal staff changes, again, CF Montreal roster changes, and last but not least, the 2025 schedule. That and a lot more on episode 209 of The Ball is Round. And I'm joined tonight by my two good friends, Elias Gregoriadis and Andy Coronado. Guys, first of all, I missed you so much. It feels weird to be back live, but at the same time, I want to tell you Happy New Year 2025, guys. How do you guys feel? Elias?
Kind of got to stick with my brand. I feel optimistic. Also a little bit kind of in the dark here. We don't really know what's going on with the club. We'll get more information as it goes along, but optimistic all the same.
Nice. I like that. Andy?
I thought you were asking on a personal level. I was gonna say I'm still hungover from the New Year celebration, but yeah, absolutely, super encouraged by a lot of the news that are coming out, and excited for what's coming out. I mean, we have so much to talk about. I told you guys over and over again that I really can't wait for to get this started this year because I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, same. I've been looking forward to it. I've been, longing to those late nights on the pod with you guys. So many good listeners here that we have. We see weekly. Patrick is here. Martin is here. Michael is here. Alain is here. LP Haps fan. Robbie's here. So so many of you. I'm not gonna name you all, but so many of you are here, and thank you very much for being here on The Ball is Round. I'm gonna start first to talk about The Ball is Round 2025. So we talked during the off season, Andy, Elias, and myself, and we were like, okay, we need to do something new. We need to bring something new to the table. So we decided to give something new for our Patreons, because Patreons have been helping us a lot since we first started, and we feel that we don't offer them much. Just of course they're helping us, but we want to offer them much. So starting this year in 2025, we will first of all give them a weekly column written by either Elias or Andy, depending. Like most of the time, it's going to be Elias. We're going to have some pre and post game press conference transcripts. So everything that you see in French, you can see it in English, thanks to Andy, of course. And we'll do some exclusive contents for Patreons only. As we said, this show is always going to be free. The content is always going to be free. That's not going to change. We're never going to change that. But at the same time, you're a Patreon. You deserve a bit more. So that's what we're doing for you in 2025. We're going to try it. We're going to see if it helps, if Patreons are happy or not. And maybe we'll add some more things during the year. Maybe not. We'll see how it goes. But that's our promise for 2025. Guys, a lot of work ahead of us, but it's exciting, no? A brand new chapter.
Yeah, I can't wait. Obviously, you brought both of us in to the show, and you welcomed us, and we want to help. And now we get to help all of you also, because there's never enough English CF Montreal coverage. So if we could bring more, then all the better.
Exactly. We're going to try to do our best, of course, to give more to you guys. Thanks a lot. Again, feel free to join our Patreon page in case you want to. If you want to have access to this content, you can join us Patreon. You can give the basic donation is $4 per month. If you want to give more, you're allowed to give more, of course. Again, content will be free, but this is us trying to be better and get better at a lot of things. So this is it for 2025. But let's talk about CF Montreal. We're here to talk about CF Montreal. As you guys don't know, we talk about CF Montreal. We talk about Canada soccer, women and men. But today it's going to be all CF Montreal, and maybe here and there a few things on other topics, just to please Andy, because he really, really wants to talk about something else. So let's start. Let's start with the first subject.
Not a personal attack. Don't take it personal, Andy.
Hadi is going to be very, very snippy lately. You'll see. So let's talk about the new Hadi. Exactly. Let's talk about first CF Montreal staff changes. So we did talk at the end of last year of CF Montreal, releasing some of the coaching staff. We heard Laurent Simon, not being here, not being reconnected, not very happy about that decision, and so on and so on. But of course, Laurent Courtois didn't have a lot to deal with in terms of staffing. So CF Montreal hired and announced on Monday, December 30th, the hiring of 4 coaches who will be joining head coach Laurent Courtois on the first team coaching staff for the 2025 season. So we have an assistant coach with the return of Marco Donadel, this time as an assistant coach. Kobe Johnson, that comes from Columbus Crew 2, that was working before with Laurent Courtois, that will be back, and this time with CF Montreal, the first team. And Ludovic Taillandier, who was with Chicago, and who will be joining also Laurent Courtois on this new in its new role. And last but not least, the goalkeeper coach Vincenzo Benvenuto, that comes from Bologna. So, guys, first of all, we'll go in depth on each one of those members. But first of all, Elias, as a general thought, what did you think about these 4 new hires?
My first initial thought is Laurent Courtois now has, everything he needs to be successful. He'll have the squad he wants. He'll have this full off season that he wanted, and he talked about at the postmortem. And now he has, for the most part at least, the staff he wants. He has an assistant that he has experience with. He has another MLS Next Pro guy that I'm sure that he had his eye on for a while. This is his staff now. This is going to be his squad. We need to see something concrete this year, right? If we really want to go, even give him the benefit of the doubt for next year, if we're not expecting a Nancy year 2 type jump, but we want to see progression now, the entire community goes, repeat excuse, let's go.
Yeah, repeat excuse. Now, is it Courtois, and that's the question for you, Andy, is it Courtois staff? Because when you look at each one of the members, and I had quite a long discussion on Blue Sky with some of the followers regarding this, because in my opinion, it is Laurent Courtois staff. But a lot of people are looking at the 4 that was signed, and it seems like 50-50. Andy, for you, is it Laurent Courtois staff right now?
It feels like 50-50 to me. It doesn't feel like Laurent Courtois. It does. I do think that Laurent Courtois had his say as to, they did to a certain extent as to who he'd like to coach and what kind of coaches he works with best. But I think it was a half and half, going off of kind of what Elias said as well. It's the way that the club is letting him know, like, look, let's meet halfway. We'll give you some coaches that you pick, and then you already worked with David Sauvry. But now you have no excuse to really let's go. Now, last year, one of the words that he used frequently in press conferences was, "This is a transition year. This is a transition year." This is no longer a transition year. This is the year. So he now we're just waiting for those player announcements. But I believe at least with the start of the coaching announcements, we already have a big step in that direction.
No, for sure. I agree with you. It is 50-50, but at the end of the day, this is how far you can get, as a coach. You can't, decide. We're not in Europe where you can decide everything and bring like 17 assistant coaches with you, which they do. 17. I'm exaggerating, of course, but you understand what I'm saying. So, you know, here usually you bring one or two guys, and this is what Laurent Courtois did. You know, let's not forget. You know, David Sobry is here. He's bringing. I'm pretty sure Thailandier is Laurent Courtois' choice, and also, of course, Johnson from the Columbus Crew too. Or it could be also Corey Ray, right? Because you know he was in Columbus too. So we'll see. We'll see. But let's answer some of the comments that we received. So first of all, Martin Gauthier that says, which of the new coaches we think will be responsible to defend set pieces, which was a big issue at the year-end press conference. We'll talk about that a bit later. We'll answer that a bit later. But I wanted to, yeah, exactly. So we have Alain saying, if you can get us signed Donadel en Bobette pictures, I'll become an Uber Patreon. Yeah, that's going to be a bit hard.
We'll try.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll try. Yeah, we can always try. And we have Martin saying, or get an exclusive interview with Marlo's agents. So I think Marco Donadel agent.
Marco, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be fine. And of course,
or is it Marco's agent? I don't know.
And Martin also saying, hard to say 2025, isn't it? Yes, it's hard. I'm not used to it yet. So sorry about that. So yeah. And we will go in depth on each one of the new hires at staff. He means Matco, not Marco.
You see, I told you Matco.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. So let's start first with Marco Donadel. So we know Marco Donadel was a player with CF Montreal. We know where he went before as a player, and we're not really interested. What we're interested in is what did he do since he retired. So we do have a bit of his managerial career. So he went with the Fiorentina youth for 2019 and 2020, U17 2020. 2020 and 2021, he was at Fiorentina in the Serie A, an assistant coach. Then 21-22, Spartak Moscow, of course, in Russia, as an assistant coach. He had his first job in Ancona in Serie C in Italy as a head coach. Didn't go very well. I don't have the stats, but didn't go very well. He was fired just a few months later. And since then, he took a bit of time off and now becoming an assistant coach for CF Montreal. Andy, do you think there's a value for ex-players to be within the organization in those key spots? We've seen that a lot, throughout Europe, where you see ex-players that come and join the club again with different functions. We have Eduardo Sebrango, of course, that's still part of the coaching staff. That's a legend for CF Montreal. We've seen Mauro Biello as a head coach here. Do you feel that this is important to keep that culture going?
Yeah, well, because essentially the way I see it is when they hire an ex-player, it really is with the hope that they will help the players coming into the team from other leagues or other countries to adapt to the city and to the club and the way that things are run there in an easier manner, because they were players. It is easier to speak to a player that's done it, that's gone through the process, that's gone through the ups and downs of that club and navigate through that. And when you have a coach that understands, or maybe you have simple questions that might seem simple to other questions. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine if you have a player that asks a coach, "Hey, coach, what can you tell me about CF Montreal, the club?" And the coach doesn't know what to answer you. I'm new here. I've never seen this. I don't. So I think that in that sense, it's very important to relate a little bit as to what the club is about. So yeah, I think it has its importance. Yeah, that's what I think about that. I think it is important, but.
I think it's important for culture, and also, being a player in CF Montreal coming from abroad, I think he can help other players coming from abroad saying, hey, you know what? I was in this position before. And you know what? I know this club, I know it inside out, and I can help you out. I know the good restaurants, I know the good places to go. And a lot of people tend to forget that those are young players coming at 18, 19, 21, 25, 26, 30. It is still young coming to a new country where most of the time you don't really know the language, don't really know anyone. That's tough. So you need someone to help them out. And having, yes, of course, you have your colleagues, the players, but having someone also from the coaching staff, I think is very, very interesting. And a second question for you, Elias. I've seen so many comments, and we have also Alain saying this also on our chat. But seriously, Donadel felt like Courtois' eventual replacement, and at the same time, Robbie saying his coaching resume doesn't seem that strong. What do you think about those two topics? So first of all, do you feel that he's the eventual replacement of Laurent Courtois, and does it add an extra layer of pressure on Laurent Courtois? And second of all, do you feel that that his coaching resume is not good enough for him to sign with CF Montreal?
Well, to the second point, I don't think so. Montreal has a well-established history of giving inexperienced coaches, for better or for worse, their first chance. If not the first chance, one of their first chances. So from a experience perspective, I don't think that's really much of a consideration for Montreal. He does have some head coaching experience, obviously, not ideal, but it was still head coaching experience nonetheless. He's familiar with the club. As far as a coach goes, he ticks all the boxes for the club in terms of from an experience perspective, both as a player and a coach. To say it felt like Courtois' replacement, I'm not too sure about that. That seems like a little bit of a stretch. Of all the people whose names were being floated around, his was not the most convincing one being floated around after Hernando Sara left. And I don't think it holds too much water. Again, we'll see how their dynamic develops. We'll see how much of an influence he has over the club. We'll see how much of a Laurent Simon type coach he is, right? Where Laurent Simon really was at the forefront, and you saw him with players, you saw him active, you saw him arguably the most involved assistant coach at the club. We'll see to what extent, Donadel's involvement is versus the two people that are brought in versus Eddie Sabrango's involvement. So it's too early to tell, but I don't think the fact that he could be a replacement holds much water. I don't think that's.
Yeah, I agree, and I like Martin's comment saying both Donadel and a Chicago coach could be his replacement, but aren't all assistant coaches eventually replacements? At least in theory, it's part of the game. I kind of agree with Martin in a way. Yes, there are a lot of assistant coaches that usually want to stay assistant coaches and don't want their extra responsibilities, but most of them really are aiming to become head coaches at the end. So, and you know what? I don't think it's a big problem. We saw Mauro Biello at one point being, an assistant coach for many, many years, 5-6 years, if I'm not mistaken, before getting the head coach job. We saw with Renansi also 6-7 years before getting the coach's job. So, it doesn't mean that he's the replacement like right now in a year or in 6 months. Of course, he's learning the job to get better. And you know what? I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, and Patrick was able to finally ask his questions. I think he tried it like 10,000 times, and then he was able to ask a question. And that's a question for you, Andy. How many games before Donadel get a yellow card?
Well, look, I mean, that's part of the learning curve for a coach too, right? I mean, I know we can joke about that all day, but it's a learning curve. How many times have you guys seen in Europe or in other games where the assistant coach gets a yellow card on the bench, and you're just like, dude, you even see the head coach looking at them like, what are you doing? Like, we understand the passion, we understand that you're fiery, but dude, like you're the role model for the players, right? Like, so get your stuff together. So, but no, I go really in line with what you guys are saying. I think there's no perfect situation to hire an assistant coach. I mean, we can say like, okay, well, this assistant coach has this history and that history and that history. But most of the time, these coaches that are per se excellent assistants are either have ambitions to be head coach or would rather be an assistant in a higher level than the MLS. I believe that CF Montreal, as they're known for a development club, they also are a development club or second chance club for a lot of these coaches that might be looking for a pick, like a step up, right, or to reinvigorate their career as coaches. So that might be the step that Nadal's saying. If I haven't followed his career as a coach closely, but if you say it didn't go well, he got fired and all that, this might be his one opportunity to look, put your head down and see what, as an assistant, which you can prove, right?
Yeah, just learn.
It's not the first time he's learned to be to an assistant, right? He's kind of took a step down.
Yeah,
but could be good.
Yeah, he took a step down, but getting sometimes it takes a lot of experience to become a head coach. So I don't know. I don't think that's a problem. But going back to Patrick's question in a more serious way, in my opinion, I like fiery coaches. A lot of very good coaches are very fiery. You see Marcelo Bielsa, you see Giorgio Sampaoli, you see Roberto De Zerbi, and of course, all three are Marseille ex-coaches or coaches. But still, very, very big coaches around the soccer world for sure. You've seen that so many times. Roy Keane, like we can name them all. Jose Mourinho, that's very fiery too. So, I don't think it's a bad thing. But yeah, you want to try to avoid to not be sent off every
well, you don't want to be part of the show, right? Like, you're not there to be the show, you're not there to be the focus of the game. You're there to coach and to help out the other players when they're losing their cool. So when the coach becomes part of the show, like Jose Mourinho likes to do, at some point
but it works because it diverts the attention from the players and puts all the pressure on the coach, so the players can play their game without the pressure. And that's what Jose Mourinho is very good at. But let's not talk about Jose Mourinho, but you see what I meant, what I mean. So I don't know. It's a profile like another. And I hope that we'll get a bit of fiery experiences with Marco Donadel, but let's wait and see. I like that. I like that. Martin saying fiery coaches is so 2024. Okay, Martha. It's good. Okay, moving on. Next coach. Let's talk about Ludovic Thaïlandier. Sorry, it's very hard to say his name, like 2025. Very hard. So Ludovic has been part of the MLS for quite some time. So first of all, he started his career in a club that we do not name. And then he went to Amiens with the U19, and then he was with Amiens also as a head of coaching development, and then he was a manager in the academy, so head coach in the academy for 3 years, and then went to be an assistant coach for Chicago, for Frank Lopez, for Rafael Vicky. And then went back to the second team of Chicago for the past couple of years. Now he's going back to an MLS team. I'm going to be very honest. I did get in contact with him at one point through contacts a few years ago. And it's someone that really knows the MLS inside out. And I think that's going to be a very, very big asset going forward. I really like this. Yes, he's French, but he's been here for 5-6 years. He knows a lot of things, and being in a new organization, it's going to give him a new start. I really like that signing. Elias, when you see that signing, what are is it for you a good signing or not?
I think I don't have any feelings about it particularly because, again, I don't know him all too well. Based purely off of his CV, fits right in with what the club is trying to do and fits right in with the project, right? You want people that A, know MLS, and B, know player development, and he has worked on player development in MLS, coincidentally. So
and in Paris Saint-Germain, the best club in France.
What?
And so
yeah, sorry.
And he's gonna kick you out of the pod again, dude. Don't do this. And so I honestly think that there's as long as you don't bring in the people that just make it an echo chamber and you're trying to do the same thing or repeating back the same crap to Laurent Courtois. I want difference of opinions. I want difference of approaches. I want as many different minds in that room to kind of work together. But again, I have nothing bad to say about this.
Okay. Moving on. Third coach. Yeah. Andy, you want to add something?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's a fantastic. Just got skipped. I just got
No,
skipped.
but like we're not gonna talk about each one like the three of us. Like, yeah, go ahead. But
Yeah,
if
no,
you have
good
anything
selection, I
else
guess.
to add.
Right? No, I think it's great. Honestly, like you said it, Sadie, right? Like the fact that he added that there's more MLS experience being added to help out to because the MLS is a complicated league, man. Like it's a complicated league when it comes to the beyond the field, even in the administration beyond the field. It's a complex league to play in. So I think it's important to bring in a coach that has that MLS experience as well as the European experience. So yeah, I think it's a great hiring. But yeah, we're not going to talk about every coach.
Kobe Johnson, Andy. What do you think?
Again, I like the fact that I think it's important also that Laurent Courtois gets a chance to work with someone that he has a rapport with and experience when bringing in his mentality, his style of play, the way somebody that recognizes maybe some of his tendencies that he has as a coach and what he's trying to say. As nice as Laurent can be and a gentle person he can be in the press and all that, he does come off as being kind of quiet and shy, and I think sometimes having that person that knows your approach and knows how you coach can also help deliver your message to maybe players that don't necessarily understand his approach. So I think it's important to have someone that has a rapport that understands his coaching style.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Elias, when you look at Kobe Johnson, I think in order to establish the philosophy, the Courtois philosophy, to have a bit of backup of someone that really knows what you try to put in place, it's a bit of an asset for you as a coach. Gives you a big bit of backup, gives you a bit of confidence, and you have two voices speaking the same language in a way.
I think that's the most important thing is what you just said. They speak the same language, right? They understand each other's mannerisms and shorthand. And yeah, like some of the other coaches spent a whole year with him now, so it's not like he's completely foreign to them. But there is something to say that this is now going to be their third season together as coaches, as a coach and assistant coach. I think that understanding is invaluable, especially with the finer points of his system. He'll be able to communicate that, right? And they said it, and it was quite obvious that this is not Wilfried Nancy's system. As much as we like to draw at the beginning of the year, we draw these comparisons to Courtois and Columbus Crew 2 to the way Wilfried Nancy plays. We're going to get Nancy ball back. No, this is a very distinct. There's some similarities, but it's a very distinct system. And having someone that can communicate those specific points to people that are still not used to it, and we're going to talk about later, a very new roster is so important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, sure.
Well, last year, Elias, we were saying that we were going kind of saying like, oh, it must be Nancy Ball, it must be the same way he played, because we really didn't have much to go off of besides the fact that what he had done in Crew 2. We just knew he came from the Columbus, but we also didn't really know what his style was, or we just know that he worked under him and probably try to copy his style. But the reality is we've had one whole season of Laurent Courtois, and as you said, Elias, we see there's a Courtois ball. As similar as it may be to Nancy, it is not the same as Wilfried Nancy. It's a whole different style, and more risky in my opinion. But yeah, it's important to have the coaches that understand his mentality and his message.
No, for sure, for sure. We have Alan saying we keep looking for outside MLS Next Pro coaches because we don't have a MLS Next team. I don't know, man. I don't think it's linked. I think that Laurent Courtois applied for the position and he got it. And then, he wanted someone that he worked with already. So he went to where he worked before. So I don't think there's a link there. I think, we talked about this quite a few times. Of course, we would prefer to have MLS Next Pro team. But right now, this is not what the club wants. And you know what? As of right now, I don't think it has played against us yet. Now, on the long term, and I would invite you to go and listen to the episode where we had Matthew Doyle here, and he did talk about that too. Matthew Doyle, for people that don't know, from the MLSsoccer.com, and he did talk about that, saying that right now it's not really playing against them, but down the line in maybe 5 to 10 years, yes, it's gonna be a bit of a problem not having an MLS Next Pro club, in his opinion, and I kind of agree with him. So let's see how the product of the MLS Next Pro, flourishes, and then we'll see if it's a must to have one or not. As of right now, I don't think it's a must. It's a bonus, but it's not a must either. So moving on, last but not least, Vincenzo Benvenuto. Okay, so I know not a lot of people know him, but I want to show you something, and that's taken from Transfer Market. So he was a goalkeeping coach at Miami FC with a certain Alessandro Nesta as a coach. Then he went to Perugia, again with Alessandro Nesta, then Frosinone, again with Alessandro Nesta and Fabio Grosso, and then went to Bologna with, of course, Thiago Moura, Vincenzo Italiano, Sinisa Mihailovic, and Luca Vigiani. So he did 4 coaches with Bologna. He was there since July 2022. So we see quite a few links with CF Montreal. So at first, with Alessandro Nesta, of course, that played with CF Montreal, for people that don't know. And then we saw the links with Bologna, of course. I feel that it makes sense to have someone like Benvenuto with the club. By the way, I did a bit of research regarding him, and he has a very good reputation as a goalkeeping coach. He's not a no-name at all. Very good reputation. I don't think he's gonna, Sirois is gonna become the next Manuel Neuer, but I think he can bring something to the table. And is it important to have, coaches with a certain reputation within your club? Do you feel that reputation plays a role?
Does reputation play a role as a coach?
A role. Plays a role. Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's also about the kind of respect that you command when you go into the room as a coach, and the reputation, what because I'm assuming, just like us that work in, say, corporate and office jobs and all that, and you get a new manager, a new teacher, or whatever it is, you always want to know, hey, what's the history of this person? What did they do in the past? Were they a terrible, good manager? Are they one of the best? What's their past? I mean, and you talk amongst colleagues, right? You could maybe call some of your friends that have worked with this person. And I think just when you start hearing, oh yeah, I love this person, absolutely. Every time we work with them, I felt, like you said, I don't know if Sirois will necessarily take 20 steps forward. He might, honestly. If he does, fantastic. We gave him a lot of at least I gave him a lot of slack for his play last year, but yeah, it could have an impact. It could have an impact as to the development of the player and the kind of confidence that he brings to his players. And he worked he worked with Sebastian Breza. Am I wrong? During his time with Bologna.
Yeah, surely, because he's been with Bologna since 2022.
So Breza 2025?
We'll see. Elias, oh man, why did you open this can of worms? But yeah, Elias, Vincenzo Benvenuto. Also, let's not forget the new organizational chart of CF Montreal, with Lucas Saputo taking a role of synergy, and maybe with increased responsibilities of synergy between Bologna FC and CF Montreal. I know that it hasn't been a very good relationship in the past for CF Montreal fans, where they saw that Bologna used to give us their least performing players. But when you look at it, and when you look at it, in depth, we do have quite a few names that came in from that synergy that did quite a good job with CF Montreal too. How do you see that signing when you look at the bigger scope regarding the synergy of CF Montreal with Bologna FC.
Oh yeah. Look, I can't really think of a reason not to think of to see this in a positive light. Again, I know I'm not the cynical one here, but at, at the end of the day, this is someone who has trained goalkeepers in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe, and I think it was Martin who said it, right? Any other MLS team hiring a top league goalkeeper coach would get praised as a good signing. There is something to say about the link between Bologna and Montreal. I think this is maybe a sign of them strengthening again until it translates to on-field results and on-field something tangible. I could say like, okay, since this goalkeeper coach came in, Sirois and the few games that Breza would play, if assume they keep the same game sharing, and the few games Breza played as well, I saw significant improvements in their game overall or specific things. You can point to something. Until then, I want to see what the goalkeeper coach can do. I give him absolutely the benefit of the doubt. Right, he coached at at one of the biggest clubs in Italy. So, but
Yeah,
still need to see something.
and again, yes, he coached in Bologna, but he coached also in Frosinone and in Perugia, two okay clubs. In Serie B, Perugia was in Serie A for a while before in the 90s, but
So was Frosinone.
exactly. So I don't know. I feel that it's quite a bit of experience that is coming our way, and I kind of like that. So I also like the comment of LP Habs fan. Only thing that matters is success. Both great and trash coaches start from nothing, and you don't know if they'll be successful or not until they are. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we want wins. We want success. That's all we want. We don't care about the rest. So this is it, I think, for the CF Montreal coaches. Now we do have quite a few comments. Again,
Guys, I think our listeners missed us, man. They have opinions today.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep them coming, guys.
So we have Ala saying CF Nipo babies, let's go. I kid. I'm sure they're working hard on learning fast, but man, it must be weird for Corey Ray. I think he'll get used to it. We have CF Montreal Goat saying, when will the new signings be announced? We'll talk about that a bit later. Wait for us. We'll be right there. For Bologna, if they start using CF Montreal as a real farm team and send U22 to get minutes instead of bad signing, it will be a great setup, asset synergy.
Yes.
I agree and disagree at the same time. I think it depends which U22s. But yeah, I think this could be a good thing for CF Montreal too. And yeah, this is it, I think, for the first part. Go ahead, Elias.
You have to remember that nowadays in Europe, 22 is not the same as 22 10 years ago.
Yeah.
18 is the new 22 in the player development, right? 22, you're not a finished product yet. You're obviously still young, but you have a much clearer idea of the kind of player you'll end up being. So 22, if you're a good under 22 player, they're keeping you in Bologna. You're not or they're selling you to another.
But that's the thing, exactly. And going along with that, like, it's always felt, regardless of age, because I think Lassie, he came here when he was 21 or something of that sort. We didn't have I don't know if we had the 22 initiative then, but he came at a very young age. But it doesn't feel like Bologna is sending us with the same mentality that we have. And I think if that doesn't change in the next few years or this season, where Bologna takes CF Montreal as a legitimate club that can develop players and actually sell them, then we're going to continue getting players that are, continue flops. Because to me, so far, all the Bologna players that have been sent that were young have been flops. Is it Montreal's fault? I don't know. Is it Bologna just sending out their trash? Maybe. But if that doesn't change...
Put some respect on Louis Binks' name. Excuse me.
Yeah, but Binks didn't come from Bologna, right? He came directly from Tottenham to us and through Thierry Henry. So, it's very different. Then he went to Bologna after. So, no. But you know what? I think that on paper, Lassi Lapalainen was a good signing at the time because he was an international with Iceland. Like he was on paper, he was someone that could develop into a very good player. Unfortunately, he didn't, but it was a good signing on paper, and that's something that you want to see in the future. You want to try do not sign them again as stamp players when it doesn't work out. That's the problem that we did. But at first, I think it was a good signing. So very very funny what we're seeing in the comments during the pod. So we have Patrick saying they are liberating salary to make something big. I feel it. And we have Robbie, the eternal pessimistic, saying, "Oh, Patrick."
How long you been here, Patrick? Come on, man,
you know what? I'm a bit like Patrick too.
Patrick,
I want to dream, man. You need to dream. If you don't dream,
I want a new Roberto for 2025. Roberto, bring me some positivity for 2025.
Oh, that's gonna be tough.
That's asking for too much, huh?
That's gonna be tough.
I tried.
Moving on, CF Montreal roster changes. So there's quite a few things. So I'm just gonna talk about. I'm gonna go chronologically with the roster changes, and hopefully I didn't forget anything. So let's start with December 20th, because as you guys know, our last episode was the 15th or 16th of December. So the 20th of December, we had the Super Draft. And CF Montreal did quite a few things on that day. So the first thing, with the first round, the 13th pick, they signed Michael Adedokun. So he's a Nigerian. He won the 2024 Mac Herman Trophy. That's not a small feat because it's awarded to the most valuable player in NCAA Division I soccer. He had 11 goals and 11 assists, which is great stats. So, of course, we'll talk about it a bit later. We saw some developments regarding that. Something that we need to tell you guys, whenever you select a draft pick, it doesn't mean that that player is under contract. They still need to sign a contract. So usually they have the training camp where they try to show what they can do and then get a contract if they can. And that doesn't mean that they'll get, time on the pitch either. We saw last year and a couple of years ago, it doesn't go always, in a good way. Unfortunately, it doesn't end in a good way, unfortunately, most of the time. But the 14th pick of the second round of the MLS Super Draft, they selected forward Ari Duncan. With the 20th pick of the second round, midfielder Caden Grabfelder. In order to get the 20th pick of the second round, CF Montreal acquired that pick from FC Cincinnati for $50,000 in GAM, in general allocation money. So they were willing to give money to get that pick and get Caden Grabfelder. For me, that adds an extra layer of pressure on that young kid. And as the fourth player, the 13th pick in the third round, they selected Arthur Ducan, who's a Frenchman, also again from Amiens, which is very weird. I kind of asked myself if there's a connection with Ludovic Thaïlandier. A lot of trouble is his last name. So guys, when you saw the Super Draft, I know we're not very hyped up on Super Draft because, it doesn't give us anything. Before we saw the news on December 20th, Andy, what did you feel about the Super Draft? Did you have any opinion on those? Of course, we don't know them, but do you have any?
Going into the MLS Super Draft, I was like, based on what the team has done in the past, I was just like, well, I mean, it'd be cool to see some of their names, maybe see some of their highlights online, but they didn't take it too seriously. Then I saw the trade at the $50K GAM for Caden, and I was like, whoa, something's weird here. They traded up for a player. That means, and this was, again, I think you said it was the second or third round that they did that they traded up for that player. Second round. Yeah. In football, in American football, whenever you spend any kind of money or trade or player to get another player, it's a big deal. It's because you really, really wanted that player, and you got maybe a hint that somebody else wanted, also had him in the board. That's a big deal. And then they did the immediate signing a few days ago, like 2 days ago, of Michael, and that added a little more importance to me as to what's going on in Super Draft, because as I said in my X account, I don't understand why they did it. I don't, unless, again, I know Hadi, you mentioned a little earlier his stats, which are really great stats. But is that enough to guarantee him a contract in the MLS, or should they have waited to see him in camp? Unless, of course, again, they heard from other teams were looking to sign him before CF Montreal could offer him a contract. So it didn't have much importance, to answer your question, Hadi, before the Super Draft. Didn't really. Then I saw what's been going on the past few days with those picks, and all of a sudden it's added a little more importance to me what those picks are. But yeah, that's what I think. That's did I have any thoughts to it? Now all of a sudden it's a big deal, man. I'm excited to see what they can bring.
Yeah, exactly. And Elias, a lot of in the history of CF Montreal, a lot of those picks were chosen very randomly, and it feels that this year and even last year, it feels that they're really targeted and they really did their homework. Is it only me, or do you feel that too?
No, I completely agree. You look at Grayson Duty and Usman Jabang, who didn't get any play time, didn't get all that much play time or any with the club, but it's very specific profiles that they're targeting. And you take a look at these picks, but specifically Michael Adetokun. That's another tough one to pronounce. That's kind of a tongue twister.
Almost there, guys.
Again, it's a creative midfielder that is decisive, which is what they're looking for in their, because again, they don't have wingers in the system. There's just two kind of floaters that play behind the striker. And 11 goals, 11 assists, the Mac Herman Trophy, and I was looking it up, there's some fairly decent names that have won this. Duncan McGuire has won this, Jordan Morris has won this, Darlington Nagby won this, and a Montreal draft pick that will not be named. But
Andrew Wenger?
This is what? and so with this draft,
I wanted to name him.
with this draft now, what teams are doing is they're understanding what they can get out of it, and they're not just going, "Oh, we'll get picks and we'll get players, and if we hit a diamond in the rough, cool. If not, by whatever." Now they're using it to specifically target what they need, and it's coming in a lot more handy, and I feel like players are coming out of NCAA a lot more prepared. And now with the announcement that there's going to be a full-fledged season in NCAA soccer, not just like 20 games in a year, or no, not even like 12 games in a year or something, and then you have playoffs. It's going to be a full season with a full table and a full calendar. Players are going to be coming out of NCAA.
Announced? I know it was rumored, but is it announced?
I'm fairly certain it was announced and confirmed. But again, if it's not a rumor, it's a very, very soon to be confirmed rumor that this is going to be happening. Players are going to be coming out of NCAA even more polished and even more ready to just hop into what it takes to do an MLS season. And I, for one, think that will make the draft even more valuable.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. And now we do have a few comments. Alan saying 1 unit of 50K of GAM is called a crepeau.
I like that. I like that.
Then
we're using that now.
The eternal question: will they actually give Super Draft players the time of day? I hope Wenger ruined it for all followers. I agree. So that's gonna be very, very nice. Of course, we have quite a few comments, so we're not going to be able to talk about all of them. We do have a few very important ones. We'll talk about them a bit later. We're not forgetting you guys. Moving on, after we did the Super Draft, it started. CF Montreal started that off season, publicly, because of course they started their offseason quite a while ago, but publicly the announcement started on Friday, January 3rd. So just a couple of days ago, with CF Montreal announcing on Friday, January 3rd, the signing of midfielder Fabian Herbers. 31-year-old German signed a new contract for the 2025 and 2026 seasons. So 2-year contract, 31 years old. We did talk about we need the veteran presence of a player. I'll show you his. We do have his stats in the MLS here. I think it's very important. I just want to show you how much professional games he played. He played 296 professional games. If you remove the USLs and the Bundesliga third or fourth tier, he played about 210 professional games in MLS only, which is something very, very important. And if you look at his stats, they're not bad. For a midfielder, getting 3 to 5 goals every year, getting 4 assists, 3 assists, 4 assists, 7 assists. That's something very interesting. And I just want to show again, if you can put the chart again. You have on the right the positions where he played in. So he played a lot as a right winger, as a central midfielder, and as an offensive midfielder. And that versatility, I think, is going to be a big asset. Andy, when you see this type of player signing with CF Montreal, a veteran of MLS, do you feel that's needed, that was needed, knowing that you have a philosophy of training young players? You need that veteran backbone, no?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the best teams in any league, in any part of the world, they are the ones that can combine both veteran players as well as young players, right? Because I mean, it won't always work as to how they communicate, but I mean, this player brings a lot of experience from the MLS, not just soccer, but MLS. He's played, you mentioned a little bit in Europe as well, so that's kind of also a helping experience. He's not learning the league; he knows the league. So a little habits like maybe traveling, the traveling that MLS consists. One thing I did notice is in his career, he's only gotten 1 red card, and that was a double yellow. He's never gotten a straight red. So I mean, it's a random stat if you want, but it's interesting because that shows that he plays clean, I guess, cleaner in an MLS league. So yeah, absolutely. I love the signing. Honestly, when I first saw the notification, I did like a triple take. I said, wait, what? Who? Like, why? How? When? We were all expecting, young potential kid, but this was a veteran. And I have a question for you guys. Does this feel in any way like a Victor Wanyama replacement? It's not the same position, but it's a veteran midfielder.
No, I don't think so. It's a completely different player, and it's a completely different amount of prestige.
But was that what they were expecting of Wanyama in the locker room?
To play right wing?
No. As a player, the profile of not the position. No, not at all.
Look, that's the thing, because off the field, he's a completely different kind of player. He's younger. He doesn't have the same. He has a different kind of experience. It's more useful to MLS, maybe, but not necessarily to global football. And on the field, it's a completely different kind of player who's a workhorse, who's a passe-partout, who's a Swiss Army knife. I don't think they have a Victor Wanyama type replacement. I don't think they're going to go and get one.
They don't need
because there's no need. Because right now, honestly, off the field, Samuel Piet is your Victor Wanyama replacement.
Okay.
In terms of mentoring young midfielders, and then you have Herbers there as well that can also carry that. And they're not going to go out and get an aging designated player because that's just not what they do. They've repeatedly said it, and if they do it, then they do us. No, then I'll be shocked.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I feel that the profile of Victor Wanyama is not a profile that Laurent Courtois wants in his team, like on the pitch. The veteran presence, I think it's a bit different. Victor Wanyama has lived so many things in Europe that, the aura of Victor Wanyama is like very, very big. I think Fabian Herbers is going to come and bring that MLS experience, I think, which is going to be very important for European players coming in. And also at the same time, I don't think that Fabian Herbers comes here to get a starting spot on the pitch. He's gonna get a lot of minutes. He's maybe gonna be a lot of times in the starting lineup, but I think the reason why he'll be in the starting lineup a lot of times is because he can't play three positions, and I feel that this is going to be the Swiss Army knife thing is going to help him get a lot of minutes at a lot of different positions. He can get minutes, of course, for Nathan Saliba, for Samuel Piet, but also for Bryce Duke, for Caden Clark. He can play those four positions, so he'll get a lot of minutes because you need rotation throughout the season. So he's going to get a lot of minutes, but I don't think he's going to be the first name on paper whenever Laurent Courtois is making his starting 11 if he needs like a very super important game, unless he's missing someone. I feel he's going to get a lot of minutes, but he's not going to be that starter that's going to come and break the bank in a way. So
Canadian Championship kind of guy, yeah?
No, more than that.
Super sub
more
kind of
than
guy.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What did you say?
Super sub kind of guy.
Super sub, yeah.
First guy off the bench.
Super sub. Even more. Yeah, I agree with you with the term super sub. I don't think he's going to see the bench a lot. I still think he's not going to be in the starting 11. But what I mean by not being in the starting 11, he's not going to have a position that's his. But he's going to be a lot in the starting 11 in those four positions.
Sounds like Mathieu Choinière.
Yeah, Nilton said that. I think
he's not a Mathieu Choinière subset.
I don't think he's.
But that does sound like it when you describe it like that.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
Responsibility only, but he's not, because the thing is, I don't think he could do it at the same level of his Mathieu Choinière. But
Alain is on fire today, guys.
We're all on fire,
Alain
man.
is really on fire. German super sub shall we call him U-boat. I love it. I really love it. I really, really love it. Okay, moving on.
Patrick said something. If he starts, he would be best as an offensive 8 in a 3-5-2. Is that where you would see him start, guys? As an 8, if he were to start?
Well, I don't think him playing alongside Nathan Saliba will be very balanced. I think if you're going into a game you're expecting to dominate possession and dominate the flow of the game, maybe. But instead of having Saliba Duke last year, you could have had Saliba Herbers, that's for sure.
That would be interesting.
And I like what Martin's saying. Herbers has the experience and work ethic to help Vincent, Duke, Adedokan, Clark, to have those youngsters get that professional approach to the game. I kind of agree with that. So Clark signing, I think. Do not forget that he was a free agent, Fabian Herbers, so no money was signed, was spent to sign him. Of course, pretty sure he got a big salary, not a TAM player, but still a big salary, maybe about 500K.
Making less money. Okay.
I think
half a Wanyama.
No, more than
that's a unit of measurements now. He cost 0 crepos and he cost half a Wanyama.
And 50 no, that's
1/3 of Wanyama. So that was the first signing. The second day, yesterday on Saturday 4th, for me it was like when I heard it was Saturday 4th. For me, it's been like a week that we talked about that because I saw so many tweets on those two news. So the first one on Saturday 4th, they signed Michael Adedokun to a 1-year contract for the 2025 season. It includes 3 option years for 2026, 2027, and 2028. I think that's very interesting. They didn't even wait for the training camp to sign him. That's how sure they are. But at the same time, they kept a bit of leeway by just signing him for 1 season with 3 option years. Andy, when you see that, does your expectations get more important the way that he signed a professional contract even before training camp? Does that add that extra layer of expectations in your opinion?
It does. It does as a fan. It does increase the expectation because you're signing somebody before even watching him step on an MLS field or an MLS training camp for that matter. But what matters to me is also there's 3 years option. So that matters a lot, because that means that it's, if something gut feeling tells me they're going to see what he can do in camp, and then they're going to loan him out if they don't feel he's at the level, and then they're going to use the option if they can see some kind of potential to develop. That's my that's what I think it's going to be like. That's what the contract tells me. That they want to use that 1 year to test him out and see if a loan is good for his progression. But yeah, it's rather quick. It's rather fast. I don't know if any other team. I don't follow other teams as closely, but I don't know if any other teams have taken that risk of signing already their draft picks and offering professional contracts. But it was fairly quick for a super draft player.
But in a way, Elias, he got the Matt Herman Trophy. Does that gave him that professional contract in a way?
I don't think it gave him the contract outright. I think it went a long way in maybe confirming what they thought about the public perception of him. And again, the stats speak for themselves, right? If you want a player with this specific kind of profile that gets goals, that gets assists, that can dribble, and we'll talk about it later, if people are expected to leave, then this is what's going to happen. This is who you sign. This is who you bring in. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, not surprised either, and I like that, honestly. And we did talk about it a bit earlier. The players that have signed, that have won the Matt Herman Trophy, most of them became very good MLS players. When I say very good, like established MLS players, not very good as like DP level, but you have one was in my opinion could have been a DP, which is Darlington Nagbe, because he's just so good.
Yeah, but if you take Darlington Nagbe and you advance his career like 5 years even, then yes.
What do you mean?
The thing is, I think the requirement to be a DP now is different than what it was, at least from most people, that like most front offices in the league. They're more willing to give local MLS players DP contracts to keep them here than 10 years ago. It was more about who you brought in from overseas as a DP.
Yeah, but what I mean is, as of today in 2025, if we had the Darlington Nagbe in his younger years,
that's exactly what I meant. That's exactly
what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. So that's good. And the rest, you have some pretty good players also there that have won the Matt Herman Trophy. I would invite you. I did tweet about it, so you can go check my tweet. In order to go in depth in that. So I like this signing, Adedokun. I really like it. Hopefully it will pan out. Moving on, right after, maybe at the same time or a few minutes earlier, CF Montreal announced that forward Matias Kokaro has been loaned to Atlas FC, club in Liga MX, Mexico stepped up division, until the end of 2025. The transaction includes a loan fee and a permanent transfer option at its conclusion. Andy, I'll start with you. What do you have feelings about Matias Kokaro leaving? And what did you think about that move and the amount that, the information that we got out of this transfer?
Well, look, I think we talked about it last year, right? Like, it was so questionable, like why he was being a healthy scratch from not even the bench, from just the whole squad, the whole game day squad, right? And there were rumors. I heard rumors too that he had been gotten into arguments at practice, and now it's kind of coming out to light that he actually didn't really get along with anybody at the club. And as we know, Sosa and Joseph Martinez left, and we have no idea what the nature of their friendship was. But regardless, it looks like it was in the interest of both. Now, this is a loan. So I don't know if there's a way back for him. If for whatever reason Atlas doesn't want to sign him after that loan, if there's a way back for him in Montreal, or they're just gonna try to do a desperate sale to any team. But it definitely looks like something broke at the end of the last season, and there were, Montreal was ready to part ways, even if it meant a loan. We don't know the details of how much of that salary is being taken from Montreal or Atlas. But yeah, just I think he's we said it last year too. I think he's an extremely talented player, fantastic. He's got talent, but he just doesn't seem to fit the scheme, or I don't know if he's ready to play in the MLS level as we thought maybe he was. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I feel that there is a way for him to come back because he's under contract with CF Montreal until 2026. So in case they don't want the Mexican team Atlas doesn't want to pay the option, then of course he's coming back with CF Montreal for 2026. The rest to 2027 and 2028, there are option years, so you can not exercise this. Elias, do you feel that we've seen enough of Matias Kokaro to take that decision?
Yeah, honestly,
Really?
look, to make a decision, yes. That being said, every single player that comes from outside North America is allowed to have 1 year. Is allowed to have 1 year where they're given the benefit of the doubt, and then the next year, for example, Dominic Yankov
Yeah.
is another one, right? Um, you know, every foreign player is
Yeah.
given 1 year. There's no 1 year and you're out. I've had it with you, because that's just not fair, especially for someone who gets injured. And if he doesn't come back, I think he becomes one of the biggest what ifs in club history. Because just like Patrick said, this man was almost a club legend after like 5 games, and they were already ready to build him a statue. They were already ready to put him on the wall. He was excellent, not just by his standards. He was an excellent striker. He was pressing, he was winning penalties, he was scoring, he was energizing, everything. He could do no wrong. So if the injury really is what threw a giant speed bump in that path, and he never really seemed to be able to recover, did that then affect the mental side? I mean, injuries affect everyone differently, and it seemed like he could never really kind of get back over with the coaches or with himself. It seems like whenever he came on the field, it seemed like he was just trying to earn his way back into the starting spot all in one shot, and when you try and do too much, nothing ends up happening. So I don't think we're going to see him back in Montreal again. This is based on no information. This is just gut feeling.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But
Yeah.
again, every single player has the benefit out for 1 season. The thing is, the way that his relationships were affected, I don't think is enough to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. You know what? I've said it on social media and I got quite a few tomatoes on my face. But in my opinion, I feel we haven't seen the best version of Matias Kokaro. I feel that this guy has a lot of talent and a lot of potential. And I feel he just doesn't fit the system of Laurent Courtois in a way. And also, yeah, he made a few mistakes, off the pitch. Yes, there are rumors, but let's be real, like they're more than rumors. That he did quite a few things that are not really professional. So at the same time, I think he could have been a very, very good player for us if he had fit in. So at the same time, I have a feeling that he's going to go to Mexico and do well there and get his options picked. And if not, he'll do well if maybe the transfer option is not picked up. I'm pretty sure another team will come and pick him up in a way. So I'm not worried about for the career of Matias Kokaro at all. I feel that he knows soccer and he can be very good with the right system. I feel he needs a 2-striker system, and he said it at the beginning of the year that he prefers to play with someone alongside him. So I feel this would have helped. So I don't know, but I agree with what Alain's saying. I would have liked to have him to see him for at least another half season. It's really too bad. I completely agree with that. But you know what? He's gone now until the end of the 2025 season as of right now. So these are the official moves as of right now. We have a few rumors. We have
Also,
Yankov.
question from Dr. Foot.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So he said, what is the starting 11 for 2025? There's a lot more rumors and announcements of departures and arrivals. Is it too early to panic? Uh, so the rumors to for departure are Yankov in Italy, Opoku in Egypt. That was just tweeted today by Tom Bogert, and Andre Fanar Balderson coming in CF Montreal. He's under contract with Bologna FC, but he's injured until March, by the way, just to let you know. So he's going to come here injured. So I don't think he's going to be available for us if he signs. He's not going to be available for us before April, May. So
I think LP Habs fan brings something interesting up. If Renard were still here, Olivier Renard were still here, they wouldn't be giving up on Yankov or Kokoro so soon. And I think it's an interesting topic because a lot of people put the fault on Renard for holding on to players too long, like being way too patient for the project. Do you guys think that this is the Yankov and Kokoro and even maybe Mahala Opoku, I don't know, they just need more time? Is the team throwing them out too quick? Would it have, because Renard obviously had to build up a case to keep him there, besides the rupture that they might have had with the coach? What do you guys think of that? Do you guys think it's too soon? It's too harsh to move?
yes,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got thrown tomatoes already, honey. Yeah.
For Yankov, yes. For Kokoro, there were
both.
other factors.
Me
Right?
for both is too early.
There were off the field factors. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Yankov,
but you know what? There were off the field factors for Joseph Martinez, and we gave him 2 other chances, and then he flourished. Right?
that's because he delivered on the field. Kokoro did not. If
Because-
Kokoro scored
but
5 goals in the
one
last
sec,
10
but
games of the
Elias-
season, then it's a
but
completely
he-
different story.
he didn't get so many chances after he made his blunders. Kokoro got maybe 2 or 3 starts at the end of in the
Yes, but
last
he was-
3-4
yeah,
months of the
He
season.
got substitute appearances, and remember, Martinez wasn't after the thing happened with Courtois. They didn't just pop him back in the starting 11. They brought him off the bench.
Yeah, they did a week later. Yeah,
It's
a
been-
week
Yeah,
later.
but he wasn't. It wasn't like, oh, he's starting every single game, no matter what.
Yeah, he did. He did. And the reason why is because he has proven a lot in MLS, because he had that history in MLS. And that's the reason why he got that second chance. And he's one of the best scorers in MLS history. So, there's that for sure. But I feel that in a way that Matias Kokaro didn't get the same chance as Joseph Martinez.
Does that justify the way he acted, though?
No, not at all.
And
But
can you blame them for that?
Everybody's stupid, right? Like you do stupid things sometimes, right?
Yeah, but can you
Yes,
can you
honey.
understand? Does that justify their loaning him out? The way he acted, purely the way he acted. Forget the on field.
I don't know. I don't really know the details of what happened off the field. So that's something. But
I'll
when
tell you
you
the
hear-
details, honey. Okay.
When you hear the way Laurent Courtois talked about Joseph Martinez, this felt quite a bigger deal than what Matias Kokaro did. Like when you hear the communication saying, this guy, he betrayed me. It was a betrayal and stuff like that. Him saying that, he never said anything like that on Matias Kokaro. So like, in a way, I feel that, Laurent Courtois was hurt in his feelings with Joseph Martinez because he really wanted him to succeed. But there wasn't anything that he was expecting from Matias Kokaro, so he gave up on him very early, very, very early on. This is what I feel. But again, I might be wrong. And again, possibly, Matias Kokaro is going to go in Mexico. He's going to have 20 stars, 0 goals, and we'll see.
I'll tell you what happened there. So Joseph Martinez, when he messed up, there was obviously a disagreement between Laurent Courtois and him that was very public. Everybody saw it. Everybody questioned Laurent Courtois, and he did the famous press conference where he said, I give you my hand till you betray me, right? Joseph Martinez sat down with Laurent Courtois and said, mea culpa, let's try to find each other midway, right? And then they were able to work together as professionals because it's a professional sport. The same thing happened with Matias Kokaro, where there was simply a disagreement. We saw it in the field. He would do his own thing in the field. He would play his own style. He wasn't playing the style that was being asked. And his teammates would tell him, by the way, Matias, you're in the wrong place, dude. We're losing 3-0. You're in the wrong place, dude. You're trying to play hero ball, and we're trying to play a system, right? And so when Laurent Courtois sat down with him, there was no mea culpa. There was no like, okay, I can do better. I can improve here. I can do this to improve it. And when there's not that lack of ownership from a player, then it gets that much harder to be able to give him a second chance or a chance to start. At that point, what are you even doing? At that point, you become a problem even in the bench. So that's why you're left out of the bench, because you don't know what kind of messages are being said amongst the players when you're playing the game in a very important game, especially at the end of the season, right? So this is what
this is not what I had. Like the information that I had is Kokaro did go and apologize to Laurent Courtois.
Okay.
So like, in a way, there's that too. But yeah, I agree with all the comments. But Hadi Martinez is gone. Yeah, Martinez is gone because he didn't want to stay. That's something completely different. Matias Kokaro wanted to stay. He's under contract, and they just shipped him out. So that's the difference between the two. I know a lot of people don't believe in the potential of Matias Kokaro, and you know what? Let's agree to disagree on that. Moving on, rumors. So Yankov, Opoku, Balderson. Are we gonna miss Yankov of Opoku? We did talk a lot about Kokaro. Elias, you did talk about the Yankov, saying that you would like him. You would have liked him to stay and to show a bit more for half a season. Andy, any regrets in case those two leave?
No, not really. I think that they had their shot, and I don't think they capitalized on it. I think they're fantastic players, but clearly don't fit the scheme or don't seem to really buy into the Laurent Courtois and the organization style of play and what they expect of their players. Doesn't take away their talent. I don't think they're terrible players. We've seen other players leave CF Montreal and have excellent success somewhere else in another league or within MLS, and some that haven't, like Joaquin Torres and other players that have left that had no success anywhere else. But yeah, I don't think there's any regrets. I think they weren't able to capitalize on their opportunities.
No, I agree. I agree with that. We do have a comment from LF Silva saying, and that's going to be interesting because it's going to add to what Dr. Foot was asking. We need a creative offensive midfielder. Our defense needs an experienced player to back up Alvarez Campbell. Hope Piet have a nice season. Last season, he wasn't covering as much as midfield as before, in my opinion. Don't agree with the last part personally. I think Piet has had one of his best seasons in his career last year. And I think we all agreed on that, all three of us, when we did the postmortem. But what do you think? How does it look like with the starting 11? Elias, I think you did something to show us. Yeah, go ahead. And just to let you know, guys, we have 20 players under contract as of today. Only 20. So go ahead.
So I'm going to go through the starters. And then I'll go through position by position. Up top, you have Sunusi, and the substitute the second will be Vilsain. Behind him, you have Clark and Duke, as we saw last year. His replacements will be again. This is under the assumption that Yankov won't be there, but there's Adedokun and Opoku. Again, Yankov will also be in the mix there somewhere. Wing backs, you have Pierce and Jaquil Marshall starting. You have David Bugai, who's also there. I'm sure they're going to go out and get another left back because Tom Pierce cannot do the entire season by himself. Then in the middle, you have Piet and Saliba. I don't think anything is going to remove them from that starting pivot. They were phenomenal. You have Herbers and Biello there as well. Jabang, he played 6 while he was on loan, but he's a center back naturally, but he was also a midfielder in college. So there's a lot of question marks about him. I put him as the backup for Waterman because there are currently no other center backs. So right now, he's probably the 4th center back and not the 4th midfielder, at least in the depth chart right now. But there's also Alvarez, Waterman, and Campbell who are there. In nets, you have Sirois and Breza. Um, I'm sure that Sirois will still have the starting spot over Breza, but you never really do know with Montreal goalkeeper duos, do you?
Just keep that on the screen,
Oh
and I
yeah,
want to ask you, Andy.
But it covers my
About
face.
yeah, but we'll remove it right
my
after.
beautiful face.
I want to be
Uh,
seen.
what are the positions where you think that we need a starting player, a starting 11 player that's gonna come and take the position of the player that is shown here on this graphic?
A number 9, 100%. A
That's
number
it.
9.
This
A
one's it.
number 9. A number 9. I mean, a starting. We said right. A starting
Yeah,
caliber.
yeah.
A number 9, and probably a 10. 9 and 10. Those are it for me as far as starters go. A 9 and 10.
Okay, Elias, yeah. What do you think?
My face.
I love Tom Pierce, but what Raheem Edwards brought us in terms of uh, a complete performance on both sides of the ball, Tom Pierce cannot do.
Yeah,
So if this team is going to make it a point to dominate the ball, then Tom Pierce will be a fine starter. If he stays as a starter and we kind of get a progression, but a similar tempo of play as last year, where it's a lot of back and forth, Fernando Alvarez has to become superhuman. He has so much more work to do because every time Tom Pierce started, there were gaps behind him like crazy.
Mm.
So I think that there's still left back that they have to go out there and get that can provide more of a not a box to box, but like a corner flag to corner flag kind of approach. But yeah, besides that, I agree with Andy. A starting number 10 and a starting striker.
uh, I didn't like your last sentence because I agreed with you so
Oh,
much.
Until he agreed with
Because for
me.
me,
Oh.
you need, and that's, I think, the striker is like the number one, but like very equally, I think you need the left wing back. Very, very important. I don't think Tom Pierce is a starter. Is a starter at all. I think he can.
Really?
No, I don't think he's a
Why?
starter
Is it energy
because
or
he
is it
doesn't have
just?
the physicality to play in MLS. He just doesn't. He can be very good. His crosses are great, and his free kicks are great. But at the end of the day, the whole game is not about cross and free
Yeah.
kicks. So you still need to defend. You still need to dribble. You need other stuff, right? You need to mark players. You need to be good defensively in free kicks in corners. He doesn't do any of that, and
But you don't think that
he's
Laurent
really
Courtois?
bad at all that.
You don't
Like,
think that Laurent Courtois ball just asked for that from him?
no,
it
because
doesn't.
Shaquille Masharati is able to fulfill that role. Yes, he's not very decisive offensively, but I think it's going to come at one point. But he's able to play on the two sides of the pitch. He can play defensively and offensively, and that's what we need in a wing back. You
That's
need
what Juan
both.
did. That's what Raheem Edwards did. It's not, it's not just Tom Pierce that's getting picked on. It's you can't do both. That guy couldn't do much going forward. Solid defensively. He's in the same position, right? He's not a starter for that reason. He's got to get better going forward. Cuts both
Yeah.
ways.
Patrick's saying JMR is a midfielder. Was a midfielder, not anymore, but he was. And we have LP Habs fan saying, how many red cards did Raheem's physicality get? That's not
2.
what we're saying. Not a
Well,
lot.
I understand what he's saying though, because it was. I told you guys that last year in the podcast that Raheem, whenever you watched him play, he played so physical and so dangerous sometimes in the box that you were just scared that there was a yellow card or a red card coming up.
When I talked about physicality earlier, it wasn't saying that you need to foul. You need to be able to endure, going forward and then going back, and then going forward and then going back. So the endurance is going to be very important. That's what I meant by physicality. And at the same time, also, yes, you need to be able to be strong and to be able to shove a few players if need be. Like, no, I don't I don't know. I'm not really convinced. I might be wrong, but I'm not really convinced about Tom
I'd rather
Pierce being the
die
starter.
than watch Tom Pierce try and defend Federico Bernardeschi. Right?
Exactly.
I'd rather die.
Exactly.
He won't. He won't
Exactly.
have to.
That
He
was
won't
that
have
was too tough. That was too tough. Okay. So for me, left wing back, starting left wing back, Tom Pierce will be a rotational player. Number 9, 100%, and a number 10. I completely agree. But you need the number 10 that's a lot better than Bryce Duke and Caden Clark. If it's someone that's similar, I don't really need. I don't think it's worth it. Like, you need to pay the big bucks if you want to recruit someone at number 10. If you're not able to do so, then you have more than enough than what you need in the roster already with Caden Clark, with the Adetokun, with the Bryce Duke, with right now Yankov, and there's another one that Vilsan also that can play there, even if he plays a different roles, but sometimes he plays behind this. And of course, if we're not talking about starting 11s, I would love to have a central defender. I would really, really, really love that. Uh, what did the Party Potato say? That new fire guy will be the number 10 to replace Duke.
I just read that sentence in my head.
Maybe
that new fire guy will be the number 10 to replace Duke.
Yeah, it's. I don't think he's gonna be the starter, as we said. So we'll see. We'll see about that. But we need 3 defensive central defenders, 2 or 3. Yeah. I would not. What do you think about experienced center backs to come and really be the general of that defense, and we can push Waterman back on the right center back as a right center back?
No,
Elias.
Now that there's no Gabriele Corbo, I don't want Waterman anywhere other than the middle.
Oh wow, that's new.
Yeah, I mean, look, Fernando Alvarez was excellent when he played in the middle for a short time, but the way that Campbell, Waterman, Alvarez ended the season gives me no belief, and on the top of the fact that Waterman just signed a new long-term contract, gives me no inclination that they should change that up. Unless you land a top tier center back, and I mean like right just the second they step foot on the field, they're one of the top 5 center backs in the league. I don't think you change. You don't mess with the year was such a mess defensively, and you finally got something that somewhat worked. You don't change it. You don't change it. Especially with how good Campbell was in the second half of the season, especially with how much he improved, especially with how much more Fernando Alvarez came into his own. That was his Joel Waterman 2022 year, where he kind of stepped into this position and made it his own. You give them the vote of confidence, right? Laurent Courtois is all about giving votes of confidence. You give them a vote of confidence.
Yeah. Why not? What do you feel? What do you think, Andy?
No, I agree with
unless you sign Van Dijk, then maybe. But
good. And I love the proposal of LB Habs fan Jason Russell-Rowe.
That would be great
as a striker. I would kill for that. I would kill for that. I think that would be great. But you know what, guys? Intra MLS trades have become crazy. I don't know which team bought someone for like 2.5 million of GAM.
Yeah.
Which team was it? San Diego, I think.
Is it Leonardo or signing are you talking about?
I don't know. There's a team that signed like 2.3 million in GAM or something. Yeah. Another. Yeah, he's right. I'll pay. It's Campagna from Miami, and it's Revolution that like 2.3 millions. And I'm like, okay, we gotta go get Jason Russell. If you want to go get Jason Russell-Rowe, it's gonna be something like that. And I don't think we have the funds in order to do that. Yeah. So
it's like 43 Cripos. Jesus.
That's what we taught. That's just our language now. Yeah.
If 2025, that's the bit I'm committing to, is all GAM is going to be converted into Cripos. That's the unit of measurement.
Yeah,
I'm not going to let this go.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's our budget.
Now, as of right now, we have 20, as I said, 20 players as of right now under contract on the roster for CF Montreal. Of course, there are still rumors of some players leaving, like Opoku, like Opoku, and was the second one that we talked about, Yankov leaving. So there might be more positions. Don't forget that from these 10 positions remaining in a roster, there will be some players from the academy that will join and be part of those of the roster, like we usually do. So I would say there's 5-6 signings that we should expect if things stay as they are. Any other player moving out will have to be replaced too. So very, very busy off season, in my opinion. This is gonna be great. This is gonna be interesting. Yeah, moving on.
Oh,
there's questions. Go ahead.
Some questions, yes. There's a question from Normand.
Yeah.
This team is being dismantled, and I have no issues with that, but I hope we're going to see some senior players signed to camp starts in 2 weeks. My question is as follows. Will most new signings come from MLS or elsewhere?
I got to bet on MLS. I got to bet on MLS. Honestly, personally, I think they're gonna be aiming for MLS, unless the Saputo brothers sorry, it's Lucas Saputo, not Saputo brothers. Unless Lucas Saputo is actually gonna be able to land somebody big, a big name. What is this just announced Gresham in Montreal? It's not true, is it?
No.
Nah.
There's nothing real to that, is there?
I don't think so. I didn't read it, but now I'm getting worried, so I'm just gonna check to be sure. But
there's no way, right?
Not a chance.
Oh man, I would be so happy. I would be so.
I just lost my breath for a second there. I was mid sentence. Okay,
No,
I trolled. All right, moving on. Let's go. Moving on.
If you watch The Ball is Round long enough, you know that if they were to announce it, it would be about 5 minutes after we get off the air.
Of course.
There's no point in telling us during the thing.
Why do you think we do a 3-hour podcast? Just waiting for the announcement.
We never do. We don't do 3 hours anymore. Moving on before we close everything.
We have a question from Emil.
Yeah, go ahead. What's the question?
About the new coaches, yes. What do the staff hires say about how the sporting team and or Courtois see the head coach's strengths and weaknesses? Hadi, what do you think?
Yeah, go ahead, Elias. I'll let you answer.
Oh, me? I don't think it's about addressing his strengths and weaknesses. I think it's about surrounding him with people that he's comfortable with, that speak his language, and that have a similar expertise to what the project is all about. So it's comfort with Montreal and Donadel, synergy with Bologna, and also helping the goalkeepers improve. And then you have 2 MLS Next Pro guys that speak Courtois' language, that are familiar with his game, and that have progressive views on, the way they tactically on the way they want to bring it out. I don't think it's about strengths or weaknesses. I think it's just about filling out the rest of the project.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not so much as like, okay, well, this is your weaknesses, this is what we're going to compliment. I think it's more like, how do we get the best out of Laurent Courtois? And it's not necessarily by seeing like what his weaknesses are. I think it's more like, what are his strengths and how can we make it stronger? And I think that's what they're trying to do. Of course, like any other coach in this league or in the world, he has his weaknesses as a person and as a coach. But that's not the point here. I think those hires are solely to get the best version out of Laurent Courtois this year that we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys said. Nothing more to add. Completely agree with that. We do have one more question from Salam here. Am I the only one to have less high hopes than the beginning of the last season? No, I have more. Yeah, I think I have more hopes this year than last year, personally.
I'm pretty excited.
Define hopes.
Like hopes for better conclusion of the season.
Better. It's tough to get better than the way they ended the season, but
no, it's getting.
I'd say my expectations are. I don't want to say higher. I say they've progressed naturally.
Of course, of course, Robbie's saying no. He's not the only one.
Robbie says no.
For sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, good question from Martin. Who's going to defend? Who's going to coach?
He has that earlier. Yeah.
Because that was abysmal last year.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I hope they find somebody. I hope they
No,
find
I
something
think
to
it's
figure
gonna
out.
be Ludovic Tagliande.
Oh,
Kyle
he said the name.
Well,
personally.
because
So,
they have too many players that are good in the air to be this
yeah,
bad at
to be
defending
that this
corners.
bad. I
It
agree.
makes no sense.
I agree.
So figure it out.
I think it's gonna be Ludovic personally, but
Hopefully
we
somebody.
don't know yet. So that's gonna be.
Maybe again, kind of answering to the question whether about because I know we were answering the other one of the set pieces, but as far as optimism go, what's made me a little more optimistic than last year is that I feel like the team has been pretty transparent as to how they're approaching the recruiting and how they want to do more add more staff, more support for the players and the coaches, and be able to have more data when they're getting the players. I think that's a big deal because again it goes with accountability when you're signing these players. Like, what did you see? What did you look at? Did you just watch a highlight video on YouTube? Did you do your research about their character, about their stats, how much they run, and blah 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 blah. So I think that's what gets me a little more excited, is because to find out each of these signings, what's their history like, what's all that. So that's kind of my optimism there. I'm also very happy that Laurent Coteau was able to add some people that to work with that I think will be able to see the best version of him. So yeah, I'm actually pretty optimistic as a picture as a whole, instead of a singular signatures like last year where we had this Joseph Martinez signature that excited us, or the Matias Kokaro signature that excited us. So that's as far as the set pieces, I agree with you guys. I don't really know. I think once we get closer to camp, it's gonna be clear for everyone.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just I can understand Salam because every time we talked about cycles, right? And usually a cycle is 3 to 5 years, right? And usually in 3 years, most of the time nowadays it's 3 years, right? It's just that it's the third year we're pressing a reset on the cycle. So the reset in 2023, it was a reset, and we were supposed to start a new beginning with, of course, Hernando Sala. And then 2024, first year for Laurent Courtois, we decided to go for a reset. And now, with uploading a lot of players, it's another reset for 2025. So we're not even getting to year two of a cycle, which is a bit disheartening in a way. So I kind of understand where Salam is coming from, but I feel that every time we did that reset, and to answer you, Salam, every time we did that reset, we did it not for the right reasons, but we did it with the better approach. Like, I think the reset for 2023, you didn't have a choice. Nasi wanted to leave because yada yada. We're not going to go back. In 2023, you chose a different type of coach with Hernando Sada, and you decided to build something, so you didn't have a choice. In 2024, Hernando Sada, it didn't work. So they made the right decision in getting someone else and getting new guys for that someone else. And then something happens with Olivier Renard and everything. It didn't really work out for Laurent Courtois. He didn't seem to have the right players for his own philosophy. So 2025 seems again a reset for the right reasons, with everything that trickled down during 2024. So I don't know. I will. I kind of see it in a good way. Now, at one point, we need to go to year two of the cycle. So I, I think if next year we do another reset, my perspective will be completely different. I will not be happy. So you can quote me on that, Salam, if you want to.
I just have one last question for you guys. So a lot of our commenters, and maybe you guys feel the same way, are saying it feels like they're building up to something, getting rid of all these guys, like signing a big signing. What happens, Hadi Elias? What do you guys think happens if we get to the season, to the first game, and we did a few signings, but none of them are DPs, like big signings, big names. We just have maybe, again, what we've always done, 2 or 3 players that are maybe trying to resurrect their career or whatever, restart their career. Elias, would you be disappointed in this? Would this be something that would upset you? Say, you know what, we messed it up again, or you're like, you know what, as long as it was strategically well done, and I understand this signing, blah blah blah. How would you feel about that?
I think there's a middle ground there where you can find the right players, not necessarily people trying to revive their careers, but you could find the right players with the right profiles. It doesn't have to be a huge name, but it's starting caliber players. We talked about this, right? We like, yeah, you need a goal scorer. You need someone that can get you 15 goals in a season if you want to make the playoffs and even be competitive for a run. Not to win Elmas Cup, just to make a run and win the first round even. You need someone that you can count off to score 15 goals and to maybe pull one out of his hat when you've got nothing going. And you need a reliable second number 10, and you need a left back, right? Starting caliber. I'm not talking about bringing in Antoine Griezmann, right? Or depth. I'm talking about
Jason Russell.
Someone who we expected Matthias Kokoro to be, someone who was Matthias Kokoro in the first 5 games, but for 30, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a big name. Or Matthias Kokoro wasn't really trying to revive his career. He was having a fine career in Argentina. But that's the kind of player they need. So they're not going to sign a big name. We know this. This is the club that they've been transparent about this. Doesn't mean you have to sign a down on your luck striker that's trying to make a name for himself again. There's other options.
But if they do, would that be disappointing to you? Would that be a failed offseason to you?
If that's all they get,
if it makes sense, like if they say the way they twist the the press release and they say, you know what, this is a player that wanted to be here, and
I mean it depends on the player, right? Because if you get a guy that was, decent and now is trying to make a name for himself is one thing, but if you get, one of the greatest MLS strikers of all time and a former MVP who's trying to get back, that's a different story, right? So it depends on what this player's heights were before. This is entirely hypothetical, but it's going to take a lot for me to be actively disappointed if they make moves. I'd be more disappointed if they just kind of got depth and were like, we have depth now. That would be more disappointing than if they went out and got a big name or something.
Okay, I agree. Big, game just that I thought of right now. Okay, I'm gonna give you what if we sign this player. Would you say yes or no? Okay, and just start by saying yes or no, and just give me your opinion afterwards. Okay, if we sign back for a cheap amount of money, Kamal Miller, would you say yes or no? Elias?
Under 400K, yes.
Andy?
Define cheap.
Under 400K.
Yeah.
Okay. As a top striker, Andy, would you say yes for Kyle Larin?
Why'd you come to me?
Because you always say that I don't give you the time of day, so I just gave you the time of day.
You cover my face. It's not about giving me the time of day.
And then he's like, why'd you come to me?
I would say yes. I would say yes just because of his international experience and all that. His experience. Yeah, I would say yeah.
Elias?
No.
He hates Larin.
I don't hate Kyle Larin. I don't hate Kyle Larin.
I know you
I don't like
him
for this system. I don't like him for the Hokuto system.
Okay.
Or Jesse Marches for that matter.
And you know what? I'll take the third one from CFMTL. GOAT, Ansu Fati. Go ahead, Elias.
No, he's too injury prone. I mean, I'd love it, but he's too injury prone.
Has he ever played in the MLS?
No.
No, and that's how I like.
Barcelona.
I mean, he plays.
No.
Okay.
I'd love to have Ansu Fati, but
yeah, I think that Larin would be a good thing, but he would be a GP who would gain a lot of money, and I don't think it's worth it. That's the reason why I would say no. For Kamal Miller, I would, take him back anytime, even if it's for less than $1 million in GAM, I will take him back. In GAM, not salary. I would take him back. and Ansu Fati, injury prone. So no, I don't. I won't take him. I won't take him. Good.
Let's
Moving
bring
on.
back Romel Kyoto.
No, sorry.
The other
We
one's
want
Fati.
we want someone that can play, that can still get 90 minutes under their belt. But, yeah. Moving
90
on.
minutes.
Last but not least, the schedule. There's not much to say. I don't get really excited when I see the schedule. To be honest, I don't know why. It never really excites me. But I think it's always interesting to see the CF Montreal schedule because we know we get a lot of road games at the beginning of the season, and I think it's interesting to analyze in a way. So go ahead, Elias, with the graph. So we start our first game 22nd of February in Atlanta at 7:30 as usual. It's not always at 7:30 the games because away from home. At home, there's one game at 2:30 and the rest are all at 7:30. So we start away from home 22nd of February, Atlanta, 1st of March, Minnesota, 8th, Vancouver, DC United, Nashville, Chicago, and then Columbus. First game at home in Stade Saputo against Charlotte on the 12th of April. And then we see Toronto FC at home is the only day, it's the only time we will play at 2:30 on the 17th of May. So that's already there. And I think these are the important things. What do you guys think about the first 7 games of the season, the 7 road games that we're starting with, Elias?
Could have been worse. I mean, there's a health
Really?
of teams that are in form, down on their luck, rebuilding. It's not like you've got like 4 or 5 MLS Cup contenders in your road trip. If you look at it, it's Atlanta, Minnesota, Vancouver, DC, Nashville, Chicago, and then Columbus at the end. To top it off at the end, Columbus. Nice smack in the face. I mean, 7. It's going to be brutal regardless. I think this is one that's going to influence a lot of traveling, and we saw how close the team got last year when they kept on traveling. So, if they kind of face this with the same kind of bring it on attitude that they faced last year's road trip, then I'm all for them going. Getting out of 7 games, getting like 10 points. I'll take it.
10 points
Yeah.
from 7 games? You're optimistic.
Out of 21, 10 points? That's not crazy.
Yeah, but you're away from home and you're playing like big teams. Like Atlanta's going to be big. Vancouver has a lot of talent. Then you have Columbus. That's very, very hard. Those already 3 teams. I would be surprised if we get any points out of them. Minnesota, we never really get any points from there, so forget about it. So the only 3 games where you can get points are DC, Nashville, and Chicago.
That's 9 points right there. No,
You think you can win the 3 games?
No,
I don't know.
I agree with you.
I think
I
6
think
to 7 points. That's a realistic answer, in my opinion. Not more.
I guess we'll have to wait and see, Hadi.
Exactly. Rob is saying, who's being negative now? I'm not even negative. I'm just realistic. Andy.
But look, I mean, last year when we knew there were those 6 road games, regardless who the opponents were, I think I was saying, yeah, we're not going to win any games because it's 6 road games. But as Elias mentioned, like I do trust that Laurent Courtois does have that ability to unite the team, when they're traveling together so much and being away from home and kind of working for a cause together. He called it a mini playoff last year. 7 games is brutal, regardless who the opponent is. I think it's with all the traveling, all the back and forth, it's hard. But I mean, honestly, I hope they can just win hopefully half of the games. Hopefully. I know Vancouver doesn't even have a coach, as talented as they are. I mean, they don't have a coach right now. That's a reality.
They don't need a coach. They're gonna you know, they're
They're gonna wing
kill
it.
us
Player
6-0,
coach.
man. Just with the players that they have, they're too good. They're
I mean, look,
too good.
there's a lot of teams that you look at on paper and they look fantastic, and then they manage to fail. You know,
It's the same team. It's the same team of last year that really did well. You know, they have everything is ready.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking in general. Like teams in general, they just don't. They don't always promise anything.
I don't know.
Because
I might be wrong, guys. As Elias said, let's wait and see. Right?
I think you're very wrong. Yeah.
I might be wrong.
As I always say, let's wait and see.
As I always say, let's wait and see.
Okay, last yes or no question. If they lose all 7 games, they come back home. Do you fire Laurent Courtois?
No.
No.
They start 0-7 after that. Do you fire Laurent Courtois?
There's no way I would fire Laurent Courtois in 2025 until May or June.
Unless you're in like the wooden spoon conversation, maybe. But besides that, I don't think so.
Even if you're in wooden spoon,
it's understanding because he's playing away
15
from home.
games, 15 games. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. CF
Montreal. Yeah. CF Montreal Gold saying 21 points to start the year.
Makes absolute sense. Makes absolute sense.
Yeah. Good. So this is it, I think, for today. We're just under the 2-hour mark. So guys, I hope you liked our product today. You know, everybody that listened to us, there was a lot of interactions. Feel free, as I said earlier, to join our Patreon page. That's going to be super, super interesting. Andy, Elias, thank you very, very much for you to be here with me again this season. Very exciting news with our new Patreon additions that we're gonna add. Very exciting off season. Also, we have a lot of signings that we're gonna see in the next few days, and I'm very happy to analyze all that with you. I'll be going on vacation in a couple of weeks, but still very happy to be here with you guys right now. Thanks a lot for tonight. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and see you next week for episode 210 of The Ball is Dropped.